I'm Chuck Schaefer, and I'm here at SugarCRM's SugarCon with co-founder and Chief Technology Officer Clint Oram. Clint, thanks for taking some time out of a very busy event to have a conversation.
Thanks a lot, Chuck.
Clint, one of the highlights of the event has been the introduction of Sugar 6.5.
Right.
We've seen a new user interface. I suspect that's going to result in a new user experience for the positive. We've seen some new utilities and tools to Studio. We've seen a new calendar management function, and we've seen global search. And it's this last item that I think is somewhat unique and interesting, and I wanted to ask you about that. You said quite aptly that Google has taught us a paradigm shift in how to navigate. How is that paradigm shift going to be realized with a full text search capability in Sugar 6.5?
Great. Yeah, absolutely. This is this latest release here that we're looking at, the Sugar 6.5, maybe to put it in a little bit of context of what we're thinking is 2 years ago, we introduced Sugar 6 as our next iteration of the Sugar platform, the Sugar user experience. And we set out at that point in time to really start redefining what the CRM user experience looks like. Now, there's a lot of evolution happening in the marketplace right now around business applications. I think it's fair to say that Facebook is teaching a new generation of information workers in the workplace around how to expect a relationship management application to work. Mm-hmm. So 2 years ago, we started down the path of redefining the user experience, redefining the user interface as a whole. Here in this latest release, we've really up-leveled search as a primary interface to the application. And as you heard me say in the keynote yesterday morning, Google has taught us search is the new navigation, right? Rather than relying upon the information architecture of an application to guide you to the right place in the app at the right point in time to find the right piece of data, we've all learned to just rely on search, right? And search needs to be simple, needs to be intuitive, needs to get you to the right place at the right time. And so we've introduced a new capability in 6.5 around full text search, leveraging the Lucene open source project there to embed this technology into Sugar, so that our users can just type in exactly what they're looking for and get the exact right record back immediately.
And you are going to index all the data in the CRM application?
We've actually allowed that to be configurable.
Okay.
Right? So there's make that a decision at the point of implementation. But by default, it's enabled to index any of the data in the application that's stored within the Sugar interface. As we go further, a little sneak peek into the future, many applications are opening up a search interface to their data as well. A big part around what Sugar is as an application platform is sourcing in data and user interface elements from other applications to basically pull together a composite application of components from other places. So you'll see in the future that we're going to be extending this capability to be able to search outside of Sugar as well as within Sugar, but that's a little bit in the future.
Okay. Clint, I know customers are diverse, but as the CTO of the organization, what do you find is the role and influence of technology for companies that are about to make a CRM software investment?
Well, the way I look at this, and this is my background, so I look through my particular lens on the software world. My background is around doing deployments of CRM applications. That's how I learned CRM. It's actually out in the field, deploying CRM applications for companies. And I learned at that time doing deployments for a variety of different companies, from DHL to Quinn Street to several others, that technology is just a component of the solution, right? So you got to think about it from the perspective of people, process, technology all working together to accomplish a business goal, a measurable business goal. So when I work with my customers today, and rather than saying just deploy Sugar and everything's magically better, that's just not the way solutions like this work. You got to say to them, what are you trying to accomplish? What's your business goal? How do you measure success? How do you align your people first behind that goal? How do you then align your processes behind your people? And then you bring technology in, right? Think of your technology last. In fact, deploying Sugar is not hard, right? You can get your Sugar system up and going in a matter of hours with on-demand. Mm-hmm. You can be fully enabled from a technology perspective right out of the gates. But if you don't know what you're trying to accomplish,
Mm-hmm.
the technology is just going to get in the way.
Larry Augustine has articulated 3 underlying constructs that he calls user first, open cloud, and open ecosystem. As a guy who's very influential in aligning the company's vision with the application software and how the software and the technology supports that vision, help me understand, what are you doing to enable user first in the application software?
Well, a lot of this has to do with where we are today as well as where we're going into the future. So when I think of user first, I think of a couple different things. First, the history of CRM applications is frankly a somewhat tainted legacy.
Sure.
Right? There's a lot of failed deployments of of CRM in general out there. A lot of failed deployments that come back to lack of adoption. Mm-hmm. So Gartner has done this study multiple times over the last 15 years that shows anywhere from 50 to 80% of all CRM deployments fail because of lack of adoption. Mm-hmm. Right? And as you look at that, well, why is that? And we have a very specific view on that here at SugarCRM. That's because CRM applications have been traditionally designed for the buyer first. Now, if you're a go-to-market product marketing specialist and you're thinking about how do I take a product to market, well, I'm going to focus on the buyer. Right? I want the buyer to be very happy with what they have, and they'll buy what you're selling.
Sure.
Well, who's the buyer typically in CRM world? That's typically sales management, right? So if you look back at the history of CRM applications, they've been designed for sales management first and sales reps second, right? The end user second. And we think that's an incorrect philosophy. And what you get out of that is basically the idea of garbage in, garbage out, right? If your people aren't using the application, if they're not putting in data at the right point in time, if it's not relevant data, then you just basically get useless information coming out at the tail end from a reports perspective. So what we've done instead is focus on making an application that is designed for the user first. They'll want to use it. It makes their life better. It's useful to them. It helps them get their job done. And at that point, you'll start getting the information from a sales management perspective that you need. So what does that translate to? Great philosophy, makes a lot of sense when you think about it.
Sure.
What are some of the techniques that you want to use in there? Well, there's some pieces that we've done now, and there's some pieces that we've done in the future. Things that we've done now: make search easy, mm-hmm. right? Make it as few clicks as necessary. Mm-hmm. It's not as few clicks as possible, but as few clicks as necessary, right? Sometimes it makes sense to go through a series of screens to get to the right point. Sometimes it makes sense to have everything within one click. We spend a lot of time focusing on the layout of the screen, the placement of the buttons, things like that. How do you start driving adoption? Right? These are things that we're thinking about. There's some excellent theories and practices that have come into play through the last 10 years of application design on the web, gamification, mm-hmm. right? Salespeople are very competitive people. How do we build it into the application that there's a little bit of that, how am I doing compared to my buddy over in the other region? How am I compared against this other person? How am I compared against myself in the past? These are some things, again, a little foreshadowing of the future, introducing gamification concepts into the application as well. All of this designed around the idea of making people want to use the application, make it useful, make it usable, make it something that adds value to their day.
What is open cloud, and how are you empowering your customers from a technology perspective to take advantage of the open cloud principle?
At the core of the open cloud, and this is a concept that's not just SugarCRM, there's white papers out there from companies like IBM and others that describe this idea of open cloud. At the core of the open cloud is the idea of portability, mm-hmm. right? To be able to run my application on a variety of different cloud platforms. This is where we're going with our concept of open cloud, to give our customers choice and control. Control of their data and choice of their cloud platform. And that's what really sets us apart in the software as a service cloud delivery environment.
With that, I think we're at a good break point. This is Chuck Schaefer from SugarCRM's SugarCon, and I've been joined by Clint Oram, SugarCRM co-founder and Chief Technology Officer. Clint, thank you for joining me today.
Thank you, Chuck. I appreciate it.